What's up, Dragon Brood? So today, basically, we're making up for the thing we talked about in the previous video where we said we're going to be playing a Winota list. Because who doesn't want more Boros stuff? Or I guess technically right now it's Lorehold stuff, or whatever you choose to use. I think there's a lot of cool things that Winota picked up out of the set, but also just from a standpoint of the red and white cards being good, we did get both humans and non-humans that play very well in this list, and it actually takes it into a little bit of a different direction, so the deck has a little more, I don't know, ability to go into the long game, a little more oomph, which I think is very cool. I don't know if oomph is an actual word you can use. I probably can spell it like, but whatever. It gives it a little more power, packs a little more punch. And that's what you're looking for when you're trying to upgrade an old list using new cards, right? Did you get parts that really take it up a level? Because if not, you should just be playing the old version. But I think here we got a little bit to work with. So let's hop into the video, take a look at the deck. Okay, so starting at the top, this list has to play a fair amount of 1 and 2 mana things, because you're trying to get in situations where you can hit 1, 2, 3 drops into Winota if it happens, but sometimes you want to be able to play even 2 creatures on turn 2, or maybe 2 on turn 3 to set up that even bigger Winota hit. So having smaller creatures here, casting cost wise, is actually really good. So the list is opening with 4 Alseid of Life's Bounty, and this card's just good as a 1 mana creature as itself. It does have lifelinks, and it can protect all your other stuff, which is great because you can protect those things you're trying to set up to be used with Winota. But if they don't kill Winota instantly, you now have a way to keep it on the board for the rest of the way, right alongside Selfless Savior. These two cards are one of the best 1-2 punches in Standard as far as finding creatures to protect the rest of your board. Almost unreal that both of these exist at the same time in Standard, but here we are, so why not play both of them? And then you have Usher of the Fallen. This is actually really good here because if you get into a weird situation, you can just go ahead and make an additional creature. That being said, the additional creature is a human, so you don't actually get another trigger from Winota, but it is a good way to have an additional blocker. Maybe you just want more bodies because you can pump them up with some of the other things in the deck. I mean, there's a few different things going on there, but having a 2-1 for 1 is always going to be quality. Speaking of which, we have Shael. Now, Shael here is actually pretty cool because you can get the free creatures from Winota, and after they're in play, you can go ahead and tap Shael and give them each a +1/+1. So you could be getting 2 or 3 bonuses potentially all on the same turn, which is pretty exciting. And the fact that this also has evasion, it has vigilance, so it's doing a lot of work in this deck for very, very little. And the fact that it's a non-human that you get to play on 2 also plays into what Winota wants from you. Elite Spellbinder. This is one of the humans you can go get, and this is actually really good because if you get your opponent in a situation where maybe they tapped out on turn 3 or 4, then you play your Winota, and then you hit one of these, you can take away the thing from their hand that they might have been able to kill Winota with the following turn. Also, you can just take out the thing that might be a board sweeper. That would get rid of those things you just went and found from your Winota triggers previously. Also, it gives you another way to win even if you don't get Winota. Having a 3-power flyer that can also stymie your opponent for a couple turns is actually really good. And it's just like I said, a win condition almost all on its own. Skyclave Apparition. This card makes the cut just because we need to be able to remove something. We can't just play no defense. Because this, if you notice as we go through this list, there's not a lot of removal cards, there's not a lot of burn spells. Like, we're just going for it over the top. So you need to be able to play this to get just a little bit of extra time there to set up some of your later turns. Now, Venerable Warsinger, y'all saw this on another list that we put up, the Lorehold Spirits list, which I'll probably link up there. But this was actually really, really good for that list, and I think it's really good here, because if you get into a long game situation where you're having to use your Alseeds and your Selfless Saviors or whatever, you can attack and keep getting these back. Even weird combos where you can, like, Alseed, give this protection from whatever defense you're worried about, punch past it, and then get something else back. So I like what this card does a lot in this list. And then Blade Historian. This is one of the best humans you can go search for now in a Winota deck. Like, imagine getting turn 1, 2, 3 creature, right? You play Winota on 4, you attack. You're already attacking with 3 things. You're getting 3 triggers. If One of them is this thing. Well, now you're going to do a ton of damage. It could just be enough to end the game on that turn. I mean, that's actually really powerful. And even if you don't get Winota, just straight up playing this on 4 is totally acceptable because it makes everything you've played before start to become must block creatures. Even on defense, you can actually hold up and take some things down. So definitely don't want to sleep on this card. The only downside is that it's only a 2/3. Would be really sweet if this card had been a 2/4 or maybe even a 1/4, just so it could sit around a bit longer. But otherwise, the card is excellent. Then Winota herself, there's not much to say here about Winota other than being a 4 mana 4/4, and you just get some free things. If you don't know about Winota yet, go ahead and Google search because I don't know what to tell you otherwise. And then our big drop we get to go get here, also a human off of Winota. We can go get King Kenrith, or King Kenny, or Kenrith the Return King, as his official name is. But here we can only really activate 2 of his abilities. You can mess around with your lands a little bit and play like one of some pathways if you want. That could help out and give you some extra activations. But usually just being able to play it, and even if without Winota, just being able to give your stuff haste when you cast it is actually really good all on its own. And then we are playing 2 Lorehold command. Most often we're going to probably be using it to either give our creatures indestructible, or we're going to be using it to deal the final couple points of damage to the opponent. More often than not, but hey, sometimes it's got to be a removal card. Sometimes you need to make an additional body so you can get some damage in. Now the lands, we're not doing anything fancy here. We're doing 4 of the new Fury Calm Snarl, 5 Mountain, 4 Needle Verge Pathway, 10 Plains. And like I said, you can add 1 or 2 of the other pathways just as one-ofs if you want to try to go ahead and hit those other colors. You can swap like 2 plains for 2 of the white pathways and maybe 1 mountain for 1 of the red pathways. And then you at least have access that you could draw the other mana to take advantage of a Kenrith. Because, you know, if you can and it doesn't hurt your mana base, might as well try. Now, the one thing I do want to remind people about this list is we do not have a ton of removal in this list. This is all creatures, all bodies, all the time, except for a couple of Lorehold commands, I think. And that's okay. I think you just have to be aware of that when you're playing. Use your creatures as resources. You may need to leave 1 or 2 back to block if you don't already have your turn 4 and 5 plays in hand already set up. But that's okay. Like, what you have available to you, use it accordingly. Right? You're not going to get to top deck that removal card you're waiting on. If you're playing against a control deck or whatever, you may just have to go for it, put your pedal to the metal, get as much damage in as you can. Right? There's a few different ways you could work around some of these situations, but ultimately you got to be aware that we're not playing a lot of removal. This is just business to get it done. This is also the type of deck that can work very well at the lower levels, because a lot of those decks on ladder, until you get probably Platinum Plus, aren't necessarily refined a lot of the time. And early in the season, this is exactly the type of deck you can get away with playing while everybody's experimenting with cards and whatnot, and you can get you some really fast wins. So if you're looking for something to play and upgrade, if you have a Winota deck from the last season, this would be a good place to start. Also, don't forget, if you want this deck list, it will be in the description down below, but be aware that you can't just load it into Arena until the set goes live on the 15th, I believe it is, and then you can go ahead and copy the deck list and put it in. One thing I would say, if you haven't yet, though, consider liking this video to help us get in front of more people. Then hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because it lets me know that you appreciate me putting these deck lists out there, but also, more importantly, it lets you be notified every time we have a video up, because I'll be putting up a video, multiples probably, on some days, all the way until we get to the release of Strixhaven. So if you want some new stuff to play with right out of the gate, don't miss them. Well, that's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.